So today, talking about metric conversion, the main units you need to pay attention to are in the metric system are meters, liters, grams, seconds, and Celsius. Alright, so this symbol is always after our prefixes. So there are some prefixes here that you need to pay attention to. There's kilo, which is a K, deci, which is D, centi, which is C, milli, which is an M, micro, which is mu, nano, which is N, and pico, which is P. So if we have, let's say, 10 p.m., okay, this P stands for pico, which means it's 10 to the negative 12 of a normal meter. Right, and then this M stands for meter. So we have 10 picometers. Alright, so when we're converting, there are two methods in which I want to show you. Alright, and let's erase here. So, let's say we're trying to go from meters, let's say we're trying to go from meters to kilometers. So, the factor for meter is 10 to the 0. And then a kilometer is 10 to the 3rd. Now the first method is what I showed you in class. And let's say we have 20 meters. So if I have 20 meters, the first thing I can do is set up a little conversion factor. And that means putting 10 to the 0 on top and putting 10 to the 3rd on the bottom. When you're doing metric conversions, the number on the top is always the factor that you're converting from. So, meters are always going to be on top since we're starting with meters. And we're trying to go to kilometers. And kilometers are going to be on the bottom. Alright, so you can type this into your calculator from here. Or what you can do is you can subtract these exponents. Right? So 10 to the 0, and 10 to the negative, or 10 to the 3rd, basically means you're doing 10 to the 0 minus 10 to the 3rd, which is the same as 10 to the negative 3rd. And if we're multiplying by 10 to the negative 3rd, what we're going to do is move our decimal place to the left 3 places. 1, 2, 3. Alright. So that ends up giving us 0.020 meters. Or kilometers, I should say. So when multiplying by 10 to the power of something. If we look here, and if it's 10 to the positive number, we move our decimal place to the right. And if it's 10 to the negative exponent, we move our decimal to the left. Okay, so here are two example problems. We have 50 times 10 to the negative second, and actually I'll make that positive second. Okay, and then we have 10 to the negative fourth. Okay, so if we're taking 50 and we're multiplying it by 10 to the second, we're actually going to move our decimal place to the right by 2. And each of these empty spaces ends up being a 0. So 50 times 10 to the negative second equals 5,000. Alright. And then 50 times 10 to the negative fourth. We take 50 and we take our decimal place, and since it's negative, we're going to move our decimal place to the left by 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then we fill in our blanks with zeros. So 0, 0, 5, 0. The second method that I wanted to show you, it just means looking at your factor sheet. So basically, let's say we have 100 kilograms, and you're trying to convert to decigrams. And instead of having to do that conversion factor, what you can actually do is, if you're going down your factor table, you can subtract. So you can do 10 to the third minus 10 to the negative first. So 3 minus negative 1 gives you positive 4. So it'd be 100 times positive 4. So we would take our decimal place and move it to the right 4 spaces. So 100, 1, 2, 3, 4. Fill in those zeros. And that gives us, let's see, that gives us 1 million decigrams. So if you subtract going down, what you actually end up doing going the other way is adding. So let's take 100 milligrams and let's convert that to kilograms. So milligrams is 10 to the negative third. Alright. And we're converting that to 10 to the third. Alright. So, you always start with the biggest number. So what I screwed up there is you're still subtracting. So this time it's 10 to the negative third minus 10 to the third. So whatever unit you're converting from is the first number, and then you subtract by whatever you're converting to. So in kilogram to decigram, we went from 10 to the third minus 10 to the negative first. But this time we're starting with milligrams and we're going to kilograms. So we start with milligrams, which is 10 to the third, and we subtract that by kilograms, which is 10 to the positive third. So 10 to the negative third minus 10 to the third is 10 to the negative sixth. So we take 100 milligrams and then we multiply it by 10 to the negative 6. Alright, Alright, so we take our decimal place and we move it to the left 6 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so our final answer is 100 milligrams equals 0.0000100 kilograms.